real quick, what is your take on, and a lot of Browns fans are throwing his name out all over our comment sections, we need to get Xavier Legette. We need to get Legette. I'll tell you my thoughts, but I think you can tell by my voice, not super high. How do you feel about Xavier Legette?
I love Xavier Legette.
You do? Okay, well, tell me why.
I do. Because, he played in South Carolina, so that's the first start there. So there is a little built-in bias. But he was a well-thought-of recruit coming out, but for some reason, he just never got on the field. Now, if you read into the story a little bit, there's some extenuating circumstances. You had the COVID year kind of set him back. He had some injuries that set him back, and he had some off-the-field issues with family, not like
like
not in
personal
trouble with the law, but some personal issues that kind of put it back. But in the Gator Bowl 2 years ago, I was at the game, and he just exploded against Notre Dame, had like 90-something yards receiving and a couple of touchdowns. And then that kind of set the tone for this season where he just came out of the gate hot against North Carolina, had like 170 yards receiving, then had another like 100-plus yards receiving the next week, to where he was had the fourth or fifth best season in South Carolina history receiving the ball. And we're talking about Alshon Jeffrey, Sidney Rice. They've had Sterling Sharp. They've had guys at that school, and he was one of the better, more productive seasons there they've ever had. He's fast. He's got great, he's definitely, when they say height, weight, speed, that's him, right? He's 6'2", 221, runs a 4.39 40. Compare that. He's 40-plus pounds heavier than Xavier Worthy was.
Yeah.
So, and he ran 4.39. To me, that's just as impressive as Worthy at 160 pounds running 4.21. So, and all his other testing was outstanding as well. So, if you could look past why it took him so long to produce and see that he's a solid route runner, catches everything, he can create separation, he can go up and get a 50-50 ball, you can see the appeal of why you would want him on your team. Now, if you're a stickler for early breakout age and stuff like that, which are great,
those are good indicators.
He has one of the worst grades for early breakout age of any wide receiver in this class, may be the worst. Those there's something to be said about, because those guys tend to not hit.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where my hang up is, and it's just now I did not go digging into the extenuating circumstances. Right. And I'm glad you laid that stuff out. I'm just looking at the sheer numbers, saying, well, the dude played all pretty much every game, or at least it seemed like, in these, his first 4 seasons, and he never had over 200 yards in any season. I'm like, that's not good. That's kind of a red flag. And then all of a sudden it was like, what do you have this year? 1,200, 1,300?
Another thing that I think is going to help Legette going forward is the new kickoff rules.
Oh, is he a good returner?
He was that was where he made his hay.
Interesting.
His first 3 years on campus. He had a couple of, I want to say against Texas A&M, he had a 100-plus yard kick return for a touchdown, and he had several big kickoff returns at South Carolina. So I think he's going to get additional value there. And if he was to, say, be the Browns pick at 54, I don't think they would, because of the age thing that we talked about earlier. Right. But that would be, to me, where he made his immediate impact on their roster, as he was wide receiver 5, but as a kick returner. And maybe, like you said, you mentioned that Nyheim Hines, but he's another guy you didn't pay a whole lot of money. No. So you see what happens.
Yep. And I guess the other thing with Legette for the Browns anyway, there's been no indicators whatsoever that they're interested, because they have. I haven't seen anything where they met with him at any step along the way. There's not a top 30 visit schedule. And it doesn't mean they didn't do that. I don't think they did that with Tillman last year. He just fell to them and they thought value, so they took him, even though he was a little older.
They would have met him at the Senior Bowl, because
that's true.
Everybody meets everybody at the Senior Bowl.
That's true.
Multiple times. So they've had conversations with him. But again, I'm not even sure he's on the board at 54. So
and that's very possible.
I think it's a very good chance he's one of the Panthers picks at the top of the second round.
Yeah, well, they need help there too, big time.